All right, let's get into it. Today, we're not just reading some ancient text. Nope, we're stepping inside a 3,000-year-old blueprint for life. This is Proverbs chapter 22, and it's basically our guide for building a life that actually lasts.
So what's the real secret? What's the blueprint for a legacy that stands the test of time? Well, it's not built with bricks and mortar, that's for sure. It's built with character, with integrity, and with wisdom. This chapter, it lays out everything, the essential materials and the critical warnings for building a life that has real meaning.
You know, you can't build anything great without a solid foundation, right? So our tour begins with the first 6 verses. Think of these as the absolute non-negotiable cornerstones of a well-built life. Let's see what the architect has to say.
We kick things off with verse 1. A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches. Okay, so picture this. You're given a choice. On one side, there's a vault just overflowing with gold bars. On the other, a wall filled with awards and heartfelt letters of thanks from people you've helped. And the blueprint here? It's crystal clear. Your reputation, your integrity, that is the true cornerstone. It's the one thing you can build that will outlast any amount of money.
Now for verse 2. The rich and the poor meet together. The Lord is the maker of them all. Imagine a split screen. On one side, you've got this grand mansion. On the other, a humble little cottage. Totally different homes, totally different lives. But you see both families looking up at the exact same sky. You see? This verse is the great equalizer. It's this powerful reminder that our shared humanity is so much more fundamental than our bank account.
Okay, let's dig into the 2-part wisdom we get in verses 3 and 4. First up, verse 3 says, "The prudent sees danger and hides himself." Just think of a wise person who checks the weather forecast, sees a huge storm is on its way, and grabs an umbrella before they even step outside. They saw what was coming and got ready for it. Simple as that. Then, verse 4 shows us what comes from that mindset. By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life. Now picture that same person bowing just slightly in humility, and as they do, a crown is gently placed on their head. Here's the key takeaway. Being prudent and humble aren't signs of weakness. They are the direct path to a truly rich life.
And that leads us right into this really stark contrast in verses 5 and 6. So on the left, verse 5 describes the path of the wicked as a road of thorns and snares. I mean, just picture a dark, overgrown trail totally filled with hidden traps. It's a dangerous and difficult journey. But then on the right, we get the incredible promise of verse 6. Train up a child in the way he should go, even when he is old, he will not depart from it. So imagine a young sapling, right? It's being carefully guided by a stake so it grows up straight and true. Years later, it's this mighty, unshakable tree. I mean, that's the incredible lasting power of getting that guidance early on.
Okay, so we've laid the foundation. Now look, any good architect is going to tell you that you've got to watch out for the pitfalls, the structural dangers that can bring the whole project crashing down. This next section of the blueprint is all about those common hazards we need to avoid.
Verse 7 gives us a really stark warning. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender. For this one, picture a person standing in front of a massive, intimidating bank, and leading from their wrists are these invisible chains that connect directly to the bank's front doors. It's a really powerful image, right? Because it shows you that hidden truth. Debt, it just quietly steals your freedom, piece by piece.
Now what's so interesting here is this principle of sowing and reaping you see in verses 8 and 9. In verse 8 it says, "Whoever sows injustice will reap calamity." So imagine a farmer planting these dark, twisted seeds, and what comes up? A field of withered, totally useless weeds. But then, boom, look at the incredible contrast in verse 9. "Whoever has a bountiful eye will be blessed, for he shares his bread with the poor." Picture someone breaking their own loaf of bread to share it. And as they give a piece away, this bright light shines down on them, and somehow their own plate is still full. Generosity always blesses the giver.
Verse 13 gives us one of the most memorable and, let's be honest, funniest images in all of Proverbs. The sluggard says, "There is a lion outside. I shall be slain in the streets." Just picture a guy peering nervously through his blinds, refusing to go to work. And his excuse? He claims there's a ferocious lion just waiting for him. But then we get to see what's actually outside. A tiny, fluffy little house cat yawning on the sidewalk. I mean, come on, it's the perfect picture of how we cook up these huge, dramatic excuses just to get out of doing some work.
This next warning in verse 14 is incredibly vivid. The mouth of forbidden women is a deep pit. Imagine someone walking down this beautiful path, lined with gorgeous, fragrant flowers. It looks so inviting, almost perfect. But then, all of a sudden, the ground right in front of them just crumbles away,
revealing this dark, impossibly deep chasm. The beautiful path was a trap all along. And that is the danger this verse is trying to get us to see. Seductive words that look so appealing but lead to a sudden, inescapable fall.
Moving on to verse 15, which says, "Folly is bound up in the heart of a child, but the rod of discipline drives it far from him." Visualize the silhouette of a child, and inside their chest is this hopelessly tangled ball of yarn. This is the foolishness that's just naturally bound up in there. But then you see a gentle guiding hand that doesn't yank or break the yarn. Instead, it patiently and purposefully starts to untangle the knots. You see, it shows that discipline isn't about harsh punishment. It's about that loving, careful correction that gets everything back on track.
Our final structural warning comes from verse 16. Whoever oppresses the poor to increase his own wealth will only come to poverty. Picture a man frantically building a tower, trying to make it higher and higher. But to get more bricks, he starts pulling them from the very foundation of his own tower. Sure, for a second it gets taller, but then the whole thing starts to wobble and crack. It just perfectly captures that self-defeating logic. By trying to get ahead by hurting someone else, you're literally tearing down your own foundation.
All right, so we've seen the foundation, we've seen the warnings. Now we get to the final section of our tour, where we get direct instructions from the master architect himself. These are the finishing details, the real hands-on advice for applying this blueprint with skill and precision.
Verses 17 through 19 give us a really clear, four-step process for actually taking in all this wisdom. First, incline your ear. Literally picture someone leaning in, cupping their ears so they can hear better. Second, apply your heart. Now see that person placing a hand over their heart, as if they're pressing the words into their soul. Third, keep them within you. Picture them safeguarding a glowing treasure chest right inside themselves. And finally, the whole point of it all, that your trust may be in the Lord. Then you see them look up with this confident expression, because they know their foundation is totally secure.
Verses 22 and 23 offer this incredibly powerful protection for the vulnerable. Do not rob the poor, for the Lord will plead their cause. Imagine a big, shadowy figure trying to snatch a single coin from the hand of a poor person. But just as their fingers are about to grab it, a giant protective hand descends from the sky, completely shielding them. The message couldn't be clearer, right? God himself steps in as the defender for those who can't defend themselves.
Now here's a serious warning about who you hang out with. From verses 24 and 25, make no friendship with a man given to anger, lest you learn his ways. Picture a person who's really calm and cool, let's say they're colored blue, and they're walking with a friend who is just radiating this furious red-hot anger. As they walk together, you start to see that red color slowly creeping over, seeping into the blue person. It's like a contagion. It's like anger is contagious, and this verse is basically yelling at us, choose your friends wisely.
Let's look at the practical financial advice in verses 26 and 27. They warn against being one of those who give pledges who become security for debts. Visualize a person happily handing their own house key to a friend as a promise to cover their debt. But then, a third person, the lender, walks up, takes that same key, goes to the first person's house, and starts carrying out all their furniture. So the warning here is super practical. Just don't do it. Don't co-sign for a loan unless you are 100% ready and able to pay the whole thing off yourself.
Verse 28 gives us this deep and powerful image. Do not move the ancient landmark that your fathers have set. Picture an old, moss-covered stone marker sitting in a field. It's been there for generations, defining property lines, family history, the whole deal. Then, a shadowy hand reaches out and tries to nudge it out of place. You can just feel the violation in that image, can't you? It's a huge warning against dishonoring the boundaries, the traditions, and the hard-won wisdom that was established by those who came before us.
And our tour finishes with the amazing promise of verse 29. Do you see a man skillful in his work? He will stand before kings. Imagine a craftsman, so intensely focused on their work that the rest of the world just fades away. They're just pursuing excellence for its own sake. But if you look into the softly blurred background, you can just make out the silhouettes of a royal court, and they're waiting. The point is, your dedication, your skill, it will be seen. It won't go unnoticed.
So, there you have it. That's our architect's tour of Proverbs 22. We've seen the foundations of a good name, the structural dangers of debt and anger, and the finishing touches of wisdom and diligence. The blueprint is in your hands now. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build?